We live in a world where nothing can be taken for granted. Not even the air we breathe.
Protect yourselves. Take your air rem. Wear your masks.
That's you.
Air Remedy has become the most sought-after drug in the world.
AirRem, on the other hand, completely neutralizes the toxin. AirRem will be available to everyone.
There goes the planet. We're all going to be slaves to it there.
Not if I can help it.
I don't know what's happening.
In a dystopian future where air quality has deteriorated to life-threatening levels, humanity survives by relying on masks or a pharmaceutical solution known as Air Remedy pills. Ella, a renowned model employed by the powerful pharmaceutical giant Ethra, is introduced while filming a commercial for the company. Despite her glamorous career, Ella struggles with grief and cynicism following the suicide of her mother, who was also a famous model and Ethra's former face. During a photo shoot promoting survival masks, Ella's melancholy is evident. After wrapping up, she calls her boyfriend, Tully, a drug dealer, who apologizes for being unable to pick her up as he's preoccupied preparing for an upcoming party. Outside, Ella encounters a coworker suffering from toxic air, accusing her of securing her privileged position at Ethra through her late mother's influence. Hurt by the accusation, she refrains from offering the woman her Arum pills, stored in the locket that once belonged to her mother. Meanwhile, an underground rogue scientist named Solomon, along with his assistant Spider, discovers a groundbreaking method to immunize people against the toxic atmosphere. However, the solution comes with severe side effects. It is also revealed that Air Remedy, the pharmaceutical lifeline for survival, is reserved exclusively for society's elite, leaving marginalized communities to fend for themselves. In the following scene, Ella contacts her best friend, Gina, who is traveling with Ella's boyfriend, Tully. The pair are en route to a nearby town to procure drugs for a party that evening. As they drive, they pass through a desolate ghost town. Tully remarks that the town's residents had traded their Air Remedy subsidies for consumer goods like televisions and home appliances, leaving the area abandoned and lifeless. They stop near a desolated house where Tully exits the car to collect the drugs. Dr. Eric O'Connors, the head of research at Ethra Corporation, appears on a televised program to promote Air Remedy, the life-saving drug marketed as humanity's only defense against the toxic atmosphere. However, an anonymous caller disrupts the broadcast with probing questions about Air Remedy's origins, leading to a shocking revelation. Ethra Corporation not only monopolizes Air Remedy but also controls humanity's survival, as the drug is portrayed as essential for life. What the public doesn't know is that prolonged use of Air Remedy eventually triggers a fatal immune shock, and Ethra cannot produce enough of the drug to meet global demand. Despite the corporation's extensive surveillance and authoritarian grip on society, a resistance movement has emerged. It is led by a mysterious figure known as Lazarus, who is revealed to be the anonymous caller challenging Ethra's narrative. Meanwhile, Tully, while scouting the house to collect drugs, stumbles upon Solomon conducting experiments on a newly developed formula. Solomon is seen testing the drug on himself, unaware that Tully is watching. Seizing the opportunity, Tully stealthily steals a vial of the formula, assuming it to be a new variant supplied by Spider, his usual source. Ella returns home and speaks with her father, who is overseas. Concerned about her being alone, he encourages her to attend the party Tully invited her to, despite her reservations. Reluctantly, Ella decides to go. The party takes place in a retrofitted house equipped with advanced filter shields to block out the toxic air. At the party, Ella makes a shocking discovery: Tully is in a bathtub with her best friend, Gina, revealing that he has been cheating on her. Betrayed and hurt, Ella confronts both of them. The incident creates an irreparable rift in her friendship with Gina, who storms out of the house. When Ella turns her anger toward Tully, he shows no remorse and coldly walks away, leaving her devastated. In her emotional turmoil, Ella notices a vial that Tully accidentally dropped. Assuming it to be a party drug, she impulsively swallows its contents. Almost immediately, she begins to feel disoriented as her senses intensify. Overcome with nausea, she throws up and collapses. Meanwhile, at the Ethra research facility, Eric arrives and instructs his manager, Angela, to track the IP address of Lazarus, the anonymous caller who has been undermining Ethra's operations. Later he is seen testing synthetic experiment against severe exposure to toxic air which fails to reproduce the neutralizing effect, leaving him frustrated. Just then, Angela reports a breakthrough. She has traced Lazarus's IP address to Luxembourg. After regaining consciousness, Ella submerges herself in a bathtub, hoping to slow down the effects of the drug she consumed. However, she begins to experience unsettling mutagenic changes. Meanwhile, Tully realizes he has lost the stolen vial and is soon cornered by Solomon, Spider, and other members of the underground resistance. Attempting to evade them, he rushes into a bathroom where Ella is hiding. When interrogated, Tully initially denies stealing the vial but confesses after being beaten by the group. He admits to taking it but claims to have lost it, suspecting that someone at the party has consumed it. Solomon and his team leave to search for the person, looking for signs of the drug's effects. Once they are gone, Ella emerges from hiding and confronts Tully, revealing that she took the drug and demanding to know what it was. However, Tully locks Ella in the bathroom and rushes to inform Spider and the group about her. When they break into the room, they are shocked to find it empty. Ella has vanished without a trace. Angered by Tully's deceit, one of the members attacks him. In the ensuing scuffle, Tully grabs a gun, tries to escape, but accidentally shoots himself in the leg. While he lies injured, Tully regains consciousness, and to his surprise he finds Ella clinging to the ceiling. As she descends, he notices a scar on her hand, and while trying to open the door, Ella punches through it, demonstrating an alarming level of inhuman strength. Although both are stunned, Ella dismisses it as a possible side effect of the drug. As she and Tully attempt to flee, with Spider in pursuit, Tully loses his balance, and Ella saves him. During the rescue, she notices she has developed an insect-like tarsal claws. Tragically, while escaping, Tully slips and falls to his death. Gina arrives at the scene, witnesses Tully's fall, and accuses Ella of pushing him. Distraught and with no time to explain her innocence, Ella is forced to flee as Spider and her group close in. Exhausted, she collapses while running and is picked up by Boxer, a friend of Tully's, who has long harbored feelings for Ella but had been rejected by her. Meanwhile, Gina contacts the police, accusing Ella of murdering Tully. This triggers a citywide manhunt, which also draws the attention of Eric at EtheraCorp. In the next scene, Ella regains consciousness to find Boxer attempting to molest her. In a desperate struggle to fight back, she slashes his face with an unexpected elbow spike that has suddenly grown from her arm. Horrified by the sight of her newfound mutation, Boxer panics, warns Ella to stay away, and flees. The drug is rapidly altering Ella's genome. Her body begins to change at an alarming rate, granting her enhanced strength, gliding abilities, and bizarre features like abnormal skin growths and retractable, chitinous spurs. Overwhelmed by the transformations, Ella cuts off the elbow spike and leaves the site, desperate to understand what is happening to her. Seeking answers, she visits a hospital to consult a healthcare professional about her mysterious mutations and hopes for a remedy. However, her unusual appearance and symptoms alarm the staff, who call security instead of helping her. Realizing the danger, Ella flees, eventually stumbling into a quarantine section of the hospital designated for the most vulnerable patients. In this ward, she notices a little girl on the brink of death, clearly suffering while waiting for a cure that her family likely cannot afford. Hiding from security using her retractable tarsal claws to climb the walls, Ella observes the scene with growing empathy. Recognizing the girl's struggle as a reflection of the inequities she has witnessed, Ella decides to help. She leaves the girl her precious remedy pills, hoping they will ease her pain and give her a chance at survival. As the manhunt for Ella intensifies, the police commissioner provides Eric with a crucial lead, confirming that Ella is the same individual being pursued by Solomon and his group, in a desperate bid to secure remedy pills for her family's survival. Later, Eric speaks with his father, the chairman of Ethera Corporation, during a tense phone call. Eric confidently reports that he has tracked down Lazarus and developed a new synthetic formula, which he believes could eventually replace remedy. However, his father remains unimpressed and demands tangible results. He points out that all previous tests of the synthetic remedy formula have failed, leading to significant skepticism among the shareholders. With mounting pressure, he warns Eric that his credibility is on the line, and failure is no longer an option. Desperate for help, Ella reaches out to Gina as a last resort. Her condition worsens, scars spread across her neck, her nails begin to fall off, and her body continues to mutate uncontrollably. As they talk, Gina receives a call from Solomon. Ella takes the phone, and Solomon assures her that he can help. He instructs her to meet him alone at the silos. At the meeting point, Solomon confronts Ella, but their conversation is interrupted when Spider and her team ambush them using chloroform to subdue Ella. Gina, who had followed as backup, witnesses the kidnapping but is unable to intervene. Ella is taken to a drug lab, tied to a chair, and left under guard. When Ella regains consciousness, her instincts and newfound abilities take over. Using sharp spikes that have developed on her hand, she breaks free of her restraints. Overwhelmed by an intense hunger, she bizarrely begins devouring raw meat left in the lab. Moments later, Solomon and Spider enter the room. They explain that her body is metabolizing at an abnormally rapid rate, requiring immense sustenance to maintain the process. However, before they can provide further details, the police, alerted by Gina, storm the lab. Ella and Solomon are arrested, while Spider manages to escape. While locked in a holding cell, Ella notices another disturbing mutation. Her ear falls off, only to be replaced by a new, almost fish-like appendage. Eric, having learned of her capture, visits Ella in her cell. Seeing the extent of her mutations, he assures her that he can reverse the transformation. His credibility as the head of Ethera Corp's advanced research facility convinces Ella to trust him, despite her growing desperation. Eric transports Ella and Solomon to the Ethera research facility, where he subjects Ella to extensive tests while torturing Solomon for the secret behind his formula's success. During their analysis, the research team discovers that Ella's DNA no longer resembles typical human genetics. Instead, Eric orders a cross-reference with the genome of Chlorocypha consueta, a species of insect native to South Africa, and confirms a match. Confronting Solomon, Eric demands the formula, revealing that he has had Solomon and Spider's group under surveillance for some time. It is also revealed that Solomon was a former scientist at Ethera, who successfully modified and stole a sample of a synthetic substitute for Eremedy's key reagent that Eric had been developing. However, Solomon refuses to cooperate, firmly believing that his formula should be accessible to all of humanity rather than reserved for the elite, as Ethera has historically done. Later, Eric visits Ella and explains that the drug she consumed infected her with a retrovirus designed to isolate and alter specific gene combinations capable of neutralizing the atmosphere's toxins. This altered genome now allows her body to produce the same neutralizing enzyme used in Eremedy, effectively making her immune to the toxic air. Eric tells Ella that her mutated genetic structure holds the potential to revolutionize humanity's survival against the toxins. He persuades her to undergo additional tests, promising to help reverse her condition in exchange for her cooperation. Desperate for a cure and hopeful to aid others, Ella reluctantly agrees to the tests under the guise of Eric's reassurance. In the next scene, Ella finds herself confined in a sealed chamber within the Ethera research facility. Unbeknownst to her, Eric is gearing up to forcibly extract the adapted reagent from her mutated genome, a last-ditch effort to salvage his failing reputation and secure the company's future. As her mutation advances, Ella develops heightened auditory abilities and overhears a private conversation between Angela, Eric, and his father. During the discussion, they reveal that the extraction process will likely kill her, and that Eric has no intention of reversing her condition. Shocked and enraged by the betrayal, Ella charges Eric, demanding to know what he is attempting to extract from her. Realizing his deception has been uncovered, Eric drops his pretense of concern, and with changed demeanor advises Ella to not make the process more difficult, and walks off. Later, as preparations are underway to sedate Ella for the extraction procedure, part of the plan to exploit her abilities, she rebels against her captors. Breaking free from her restraints, she makes her way to the basement, determined to find Solomon. Using her enhanced auditory senses, she successfully locates him. As she approaches, she picks up the faint sound of a distant radio and senses security guard approaching. Acting swiftly, Ella attacks the guard, neutralizing him with ease by spitting a corrosive toxin that incapacitates him. Ella then confronts Solomon, demanding to know why he is withholding the formula. To emphasize her transformation, she reveals the shocking changes in her body, including a developed ear and small unnatural openings on her back. Meanwhile, Eric collects his young son Max for a visit and soon learn that Ella and Solomon both have escaped their confinement. Solomon leads Ella to the research lab, where he reveals the origins of the reagent. He explains that it was initially extracted from the genes of a unique dragonfly species that had evolved immunity to atmospheric toxins. However, during Ethera's aggressive experimentation, the species was driven to extinction. Desperate to continue their research, the team developed a synthetic replacement reagent, but it proved fatal to every test subject, except Ella, who survived after being injected with it. Solomon confesses that he intended to create a permanently effective antidote, which he and Lazarus want to distribute to every human on Earth, while Ethera would be far more selective about whom they would want to save. This revelation leads to a shocking implication: Ella is now undergoing a transformation, gradually mutating into a dragonfly-like hybrid. This mutation grants her immunity to the toxin air, but also causes her to adopt characteristics of the extinct species. Meanwhile, Spider infiltrates the facility and creates a diversion by calling in a bomb threat, forcing Eric to take drastic measures. In response, Eric orders the building to be flooded with gas, aiming to flush out the fugitives. As tensions rise, Eric discovers that his son, Max, has gone missing. Grabbing a tranquilizer gun, he issues orders to tighten security and ensure the facility's perimeter is guarded. On the run, Solomon and Ella encounter Spider, who has arrived to help them escape. However, the gas begins infiltrating. She urges them to move quickly toward the garage. Along the way, Ella's heightened senses alert her to an imminent threat. She veers into a washroom, where she detects a presence, a faint, panic sound of heavy breathing. Investigating further, she cautiously opens one of the doors and discovers Max, clutching his mother's locket and trembling with fear. She decides to take him with her. As they attempt to escape, Eric catches up to them and confronts Ella. Desperate to protect Max, he holds her at gunpoint. In a tense standoff, Ella threatens to kill Max if Eric doesn't back down. Refusing to yield, Eric fires at Ella. Utilizing her enhanced abilities, she leaps off the railing and effortlessly glides through the air, evading the incoming shots. She swiftly escapes the confrontation and eventually reunites with Solomon and Spider. The group makes their way to the garage, where Spider decides to act as a decoy to buy Solomon and Ella some time to escape. As she drives off, their plan nearly succeeds, but a shot punctures one of the car's tires, and Spider is captured shortly after. Meanwhile, Ella uses her razor-sharp elbow spikes to cut through the facility's fence, allowing them to escape to the top of a nearby reservoir. In a pivotal moment, Solomon makes a startling confession. He too had taken the drug, but in a smaller dose, as fear held him back from fully committing to its effects. Aware of the stakes, Solomon provides Ella with the final ingredient for the antitoxin, and urges her to find Lazarus, emphasizing that Spider can help her make contact. In a gesture of closure, Ella hands her mother's locket to Solomon, symbolizing her transformation and newfound independence. She no longer needs the pills to breathe. Without hesitation, she leaps off the reservoir's edge, using her newfound abilities to glide to safety. Moments later, Eric recaptures Solomon, intent on exploiting his knowledge to initiate another mutation experiment and maintain Ethera's monopoly over humanity's survival. Sometime later, Ella has undergone a complete transformation, fully mutating into a dragonfly-like hybrid with functional wings that allow her to glide effortlessly. Ella meets Lazarus, who is secretly Eric's personal and trusted aide, Angela, and offers her cooperation in providing the world with the choice of an adaptive mutation as a means for mankind's survival.